My beloved child, pause here for a moment, because something gentle has been moving around you in silence, and even if you have not fully seen it yet, a quiet intention has already begun to take shape in the hands of someone close to you. It is not loud. It is not dramatic. It has not arrived with big words or sudden explanations. Instead, it has been forming in the background of ordinary moments, in the spaces between conversations, in the small hesitations you almost ignored, in the softer way they look at you when they think you are not paying attention. There is a reason certain things have felt slightly different lately. There is a reason the atmosphere around one connection in your life has seemed deeper, warmer, almost as if something unspoken is waiting just beneath the surface. Don't skip past this too quickly, because what is happening is not random. Someone close to you has been thinking more carefully than you realize, planning more tenderly than they have shown, preparing something that carries meaning, and the surprising part is not only what they are preparing, but why your presence became important enough for them to do it at all. Look again at the little details. Not the obvious ones. Not the things people usually point to. Look at what almost disappears if you are distracted. A delay that felt unusual. A conversation that ended with a strange softness. A question they asked that seemed simple on the outside but carried a deeper weight underneath. Sometimes people do not announce what they are building because the feeling is still too precious while it is unfinished. Sometimes they protect it by staying quiet. Sometimes they hold back not because there is nothing to say, but because what they are preparing matters too much to be spoken too early. And this is where your heart may begin to recognize something it has been sensing all along. You have not imagined the shift. You have not misunderstood the stillness. You have not been reading too much into the pause. There really is movement beneath the silence, and it has been growing while you were busy trying to make sense of what felt incomplete. There is something almost beautiful about the way important things begin. They do not always enter with certainty. They often begin as a thought someone cannot shake, a feeling they keep returning to, an idea they test quietly in their mind while going through the motions of the day. It starts in private. It deepens in reflection. Then slowly, without making a show of itself, it becomes a plan. That is what is happening here. Someone close to you has moved beyond the stage of passing emotion. This is no longer just a fleeting impulse or a random thought that came and went. They have been returning to it, shaping it, considering the timing, the words, the way it might reach you, the way it might affect you, the way it might change what stands between you now. Stay till the end, because something important is waiting for you, and the meaning of this silence is beginning to unfold. You may wonder why they have not simply told you, why they have not come forward, opened the door, spoken plainly, and ended all the guessing. But people become quiet for many reasons when the heart is involved. Sometimes they want to be sure before they speak. Sometimes they want what they offer to feel worthy of the person receiving it. Sometimes they know that careless timing can break the beauty of something sincere. And sometimes, perhaps this is the part that touches most deeply, they are hoping to surprise you not with something grand for the sake of appearance, but with something thoughtful enough to reach a place in you that words alone could not reach. Imagine that for a second. Imagine someone caring enough to prepare rather than perform, caring enough to think instead of rushing, caring enough to hold back until what they bring carries real meaning. That changes the shape of the silence, does it not? Suddenly it is no longer emptiness. Suddenly it becomes preparation. And perhaps this is why your spirit has felt suspended between uncertainty and anticipation. Part of you has been trying to stay practical, trying not to assume too much, trying not to lean into hope without proof. Yet another part of you, quieter and wiser, has felt that something is being woven behind the scenes. That second part of you deserves to be heard now. There are moments in life when your inner knowing notices the shift before your mind can explain it. This may be one of those moments. Not because everything is already visible, but because the energy of intention leaves traces. It changes the way a room feels. It alters the rhythm of connection. It creates a subtle pull, as if life itself is holding its breath for a reveal that has not happened yet. And right now, whether you fully trust it or not, that reveal is drawing closer. Let this settle in gently. The surprise being prepared is not powerful because it is unexpected. It is powerful because it carries attention, care, and emotional intention. So often people think the value of a surprise is in the shock of it, the grand reaction, the suddenness. But the deepest surprises are different. They carry evidence. Evidence that someone noticed. Evidence that someone remembered. Evidence that someone chose to invest thought where they could have remained distant. Evidence that you mattered enough for them to prepare something before placing it in your world. That is the part that stays with a person. Not the surface of the gesture, but the realization behind it. Someone thought of me this carefully. Someone considered what would reach me. Someone quietly gave their energy to something they wanted me to feel. That is why this matters. That is why your heart feels this opening before the full picture has even arrived. And here is a truth many people overlook. Silence does not always mean absence. Sometimes silence is where devotion does its deepest work. Not the kind of devotion that announces itself. The kind that watches, learns, reflects, and chooses with care. Someone close to you has been in that space. They have been paying attention to what moves you, what softens you, what has exhausted you, what you have needed without fully saying it out loud. You may think they missed more than they actually did. You may think your quieter feelings went unnoticed. But what if they noticed more than you know? What if the very parts of yourself you assumed were hidden became the reason they started preparing this in the first place? What if your tired smile, your patience, your resilience, your unspoken longing, your way of carrying so much without making a scene, what if all of that reached them more deeply than you realized? Wait with that thought. Do not rush past it. Because if that is true, then this is about more than a plan. It is about recognition. It is about someone seeing beyond your surface and responding to something real within you. And when that happens, it can feel almost surreal. Not because it is fantasy, but because being truly seen is rare enough to feel extraordinary. Many people hear words. Few people notice patterns. Many people respond to appearances. Few people feel the quiet truth of another person deeply enough to prepare something meaningful in response. Yet, that may be exactly what is happening around you now. The plan forming in secret may carry within it a message without words. I saw more than you thought I did. I understood more than I let on. I have been holding something for you, and when the time is right, you will understand why I stayed quiet. Still, part of you may resist believing this. That is understandable. You have lived enough life to know that not every pause hides significance. Not every silence contains sincerity. Not every shift leads to revelation. But this moment asks for discernment, not cynicism. It asks you to remain open without forcing the story. It asks you to let unfolding be unfolding. There is strength in that. There is grace in allowing something meaningful to approach without tearing it apart in advance. You do not need to chase this. You do not need to pull at it, question it to exhaustion, or demand certainty before its time. Some things arrive more beautifully when the heart does not interfere with the timing of their becoming. Some surprises are not meant to be hunted. They are meant to be received. And so the deeper question is not only what they are preparing. The deeper question is what this moment is awakening in you while you wait. Is it teaching you to notice more carefully? Is it reminding you that life can still carry tenderness you did not schedule? Is it opening the part of you that had begun to grow tired of expecting anything meaningful at all? Because sometimes the preparation happening around you is matched by preparation happening within you. While they are shaping something in silence, you are being softened in silence too. You are being drawn away from numbness, away from dismissal, away from the habit of assuming every meaningful thing belongs somewhere else, to someone else, at some later time. No, there are moments reserved for you as well. There are gestures, conversations, turns of timing, and quiet revelations that can enter your life in ways you did not predict. This may be one of them. Something in your world is moving from hidden to near, visible. You can feel it in the emotional pressure of this moment, in that strange sense that something unfinished is circling closer to form. Think about how often the most defining moments do not look important at first. A sentence said softly, a message that arrives at the right time, a meeting that feels ordinary until one detail changes everything. A gesture that seems small to anyone else but lands in exactly the place your heart needed it to land. The surprise being prepared for you may not look the way you once imagined surprises should look. It may come with more sincerity than spectacle, more truth than performance, more emotional clarity than noise. And that is precisely why it may touch you so deeply when it arrives. Perhaps what will surprise you most is not the preparation itself, but the identity of the feeling behind it. You may discover that what you thought was distance was actually hesitation mixed with care. What you thought was uncertainty was actually thoughtfulness taking its time. What you thought was silence was actually someone gathering courage, gathering clarity, gathering the right moment to let something meaningful cross the space between you. That changes everything. Because when a quiet pattern finally reveals its center, the past few days or weeks suddenly rearrange themselves. You look back and understand the pauses differently. You understand the glances differently. You understand why certain words felt incomplete, why certain moments lingered, why something about them seemed both present and withheld. It is because there was more there than they were ready to reveal. There is also another layer to this, and it is softer, but no less powerful. The fact that they are preparing something means they are imagining your reaction. Think about that. They have pictured the moment reaching you. They have wondered how you will feel. They have carried that future moment in their mind before it has even happened. That alone tells you this is not careless. It tells you your emotional world has entered their consideration. And whenever someone begins to treat your heart as something worth considering, a threshold is being crossed. Quietly, yes. Privately, yes. But truly, this is why your intuition keeps turning back to this. It senses that something is no longer casual. Something has deepened. Something has moved from thought into intention. There is no need to decorate this with extremes. The beauty of it is already enough. Someone close to you is taking the invisible step that often comes before change becomes visible. They are preparing. They are arranging. They are holding something close until it can be offered in the right light. And whether that becomes a revealing conversation, a meaningful gesture, a long, awaited expression, or a moment that clarifies where you stand, the emotional truth remains the same. You are not standing at the edge of emptiness. You are standing at the edge of unfolding. That is why this season has felt so charged, even in its quietness. Something is nearing completion, and your heart has begun to hear the footsteps before the arrival itself. Breathe into this next thought, because it carries a rare kind of comfort. You do not have to become louder to be chosen for meaningful things. You do not have to force your presence into every room. You do not have to over-explain your worth to be remembered with care. Sometimes your quietest qualities leave the deepest imprint. Sometimes the gentleness you worried was overlooked became the very reason someone wanted to do something thoughtful for you. Sometimes your steady presence, your honesty, your patience, your depth, your way of being real in a world that often rewards performance, sometimes that touches people far more than they ever confess out loud. And then one day, through a plan, a gesture, a surprise, or a moment they have been quietly building, you begin to see evidence that your presence mattered more than you knew. Stay a little longer with this unfolding, because the heart of it has not fully opened yet. What they are preparing will surprise you, yes, but not only because it exists. It will surprise you because it reveals a hidden chapter that has already been developing behind the scenes. It reveals that while you were questioning, someone was considering. While you were trying not to assume, someone was deciding. While you were simply living your life, carrying your own thoughts, moving through your own days, someone close to you was giving this more space in their mind than you ever imagined. And when that kind of hidden devotion finally becomes visible, it does more than surprise. It restores something. It restores your sense that sincerity still exists. It restores your willingness to trust small signs again. It restores the possibility that meaningful things can still find their way to you without chaos, without pressure, without force. So if the air has felt charged lately, if your spirit has felt gently alert, if something in you keeps saying there is more here than what has been shown, listen carefully to that. Not with desperation, not with fear, with calm attention, with quiet openness, with the understanding that some of life's most beautiful turns begin like this, unannounced, understated, almost hidden, until the moment comes when they can no longer remain in the background. Someone close to you is quietly planning something, and the surprise is not drifting farther away. It is moving closer, closer through each passing thought they return to, closer through each moment of preparation they keep to themselves, closer through each silent decision that brings this from possibility into reality. And when the moment finally steps into the light, you may realize this was never about being caught off guard. It was about being met, in a way you did not expect, by care that had been growing in secret all along. And just before that reveal reaches you, the world becomes very still, almost as if it knows a hidden intention is about to become real. And just when you think the silence has said everything it can, something within it begins to shift again, not loudly, not suddenly, but in a way that feels like the air itself is preparing to carry a truth it has been holding back. You may notice it in the smallest ways first. A subtle change in their energy, a softness that lingers a little longer than before, a presence that feels more intentional, even when nothing obvious is spoken. This is how quiet preparation begins to rise toward the surface, gently, almost invisibly, until one moment carries a weight that all the previous ones were leading toward. There is a space between intention and expression that few people talk about. It is the place where decisions are made silently, where courage gathers slowly, where someone stands at the edge of revealing something that matters to them more than they are ready to admit out loud. That is where they are right now. Not in confusion, not in distance, but in that between moment where the heart has already chosen something, and the voice is just waiting for the right second to follow. You might feel a quiet tension building, but not the kind that creates discomfort. It is more like anticipation wrapped in stillness, like the feeling before something meaningful is about to be said, but the words are not here yet. This is important, because it means what is coming is not impulsive. It is not careless. It is something that has been held, considered, shaped with intention, and that alone changes its value. Let your thoughts slow down for a moment, because this next realization often passes unnoticed if the mind is rushing. The person who is preparing this has been paying attention to your timing as well, not just their own. They have been watching when you seem open, when you seem distant, when your energy is light, when it is quiet. They have been observing more than they have shown, not in a way that feels overwhelming, but in a way that reflects care. Because when someone truly intends to bring something meaningful into your life, they do not only think about what they want to express, they think about when you will be able to receive it. And here is where everything begins to feel different. Because suddenly, this is no longer just about what they are planning. It becomes about alignment. About a moment being chosen, not randomly, but with a kind of emotional awareness that is rare. You may not have realized it, but there have been moments when they almost said something, and then didn't. Moments when the words were close, but something told them to wait. Not out of fear, out of care. That detail matters more than you think. Imagine how many times people rush important things and lose their meaning because the moment wasn't right. But here, something else is happening. Something more patient, more thoughtful, more attuned. And that is why what is coming carries a different kind of energy. It is not just a surprise. It is a moment that has been chosen. Stay with this, because the deeper layer is beginning to open. There is something else they have been doing quietly, something even more revealing than the plan itself. They have been imagining how this will change things between you. Not in a dramatic way, not in a way that forces anything, but in a way that gently shifts the connection from what it has been, into what it could become. That thought has been living in them for a while now, growing, returning, expanding each time they revisit it. And here is the part that may surprise you even more. They are not only preparing something for you, they are preparing themselves as well. Because whatever they are holding back right now requires a certain version of them to step forward. A more open version. A more honest version. A version that is willing to be seen a little more clearly than before. That is not always easy. That takes quiet courage. That takes a willingness to move beyond comfort and into something real. So while you have been sensing something outside of you shifting, something inside them has been shifting too. Pause here for a second, because this changes the entire meaning of what you are about to receive. This is not just an action. It is not just a gesture. It is a moment where someone is choosing to show you a part of themselves they have been holding back. And when that happens, it carries a kind of sincerity that cannot be imitated. It cannot be rushed. It cannot be replaced with something surface level. You may have wondered at times if they truly understood you, if they noticed the things you never said directly, if they felt the weight of certain moments the same way you did. And yet, without confirming it, they have been responding in their own quiet way. Not through words, but through preparation. There is something powerful about that, because it means the connection has been growing even in silence. And maybe, just maybe, the reason this has taken time is because it needed to reach a certain depth before it could be expressed at all. Not everything meaningful can be spoken immediately. Some things need to be felt long enough to become real. And that is exactly what has been happening here. You might feel a shift in yourself as you listen to this. A soft realization forming, like pieces of a quiet puzzle beginning to come together. Moments that once felt uncertain may start to make more sense. The pauses, the almost, conversations, the way something always felt like it was about to be said, but never fully arrived. Those were not empty moments. Those were building moments. And now, the space between them is closing. Something important is waiting for you, not in the distant future, not in some undefined someday, but closer than it has ever been before. Closer than it was yesterday. Closer than it was the last time you felt that subtle shift but couldn't explain it. You are moving toward a moment that has already begun, even if you have not seen it clearly yet. And here is something your heart may recognize before your mind does. When something is prepared. With this level of quiet intention, it does not arrive loudly. It arrives precisely, at the right time, in the right way, with the right energy to be felt, not just noticed. That is why you don't need to search for it. You don't need to force clarity. You don't need to question every detail trying to uncover it before it reveals itself, because when it comes, it will not confuse you. It will make sense, not in a logical, over-explained way, but in a way that settles something inside you, like a quiet answer to a question you never fully asked out loud. And in that moment, you may realize something that changes how you see everything that led up to it. That while you were trying to understand what was happening, something meaningful was already finding its way to you, and the person behind it has been closer to that truth than you ever expected. Just before this becomes visible, there is often a final moment of stillness, a calm before clarity steps forward. If you feel that stillness now, don't rush through it, because this is where everything aligns. And very soon, what has been hidden in quiet preparation will begin to show itself in a way that feels both surprising, and somehow, deeply familiar at the same time.